Hey everyone, Temporal here, and for this session we are reviewing a Bronze Sigma. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that really does help grow the channel, really lets me do more of this good stuff. Or if you are looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, what promos, events are coming up, all sorts of cool stuff like that. Are we going to take the high ground? Are we going to take the high ground, please? Our tank partner's a hog? Okay.
5, 4,
Where's your hog setting up? Your hog's here. So your hog looks like he might take the high ground, so I can live with you on the main angle. Okay.
3, 2,
Hey, Game Buster.
1. Attackers incoming. Stop the payload.
Yeah, punish that bear. No high ground down here. It's true, but I think the hog went and took it. The high ground on the left, anyways. You know, we could have taken the high ground on the right, but or above behind, but hey, didn't happen. Timing our weaves a little better. A little early on that shot. You can time that bubble better. It was clearly we weren't destroying it. You have to redeploy barrier. Okay, so this is something that I've asked us to improve on before, and we're going to need to continue to do so. When we're using our shift, we generally want to go somewhere with it. Like, that doesn't have to be a 100% thing, but we sort of just did a little baby circle with our shift here. And A, there's not really enough people shooting at us to justify our shift right now. But B, if we're using our shift, it's generally because we want to rotate back and, okay, we're going to play from here. Or we're going to rotate back and, okay, we're going to play from here. If you're just using it as part of your rotation of damage mitigation, I can live with that. But there really wasn't enough threat to you to justify it. So let's make sure we keep that as a focus, since I know we've covered that before. I don't know. I'll probably go get highlights. I have some other work stuff to do, Cyrus Appy. I'm probably not going super hard into watching it live. Okay. Did we not have our rock? Maybe we didn't have our rock. That's there. Yeah, this should instantly be rock. Like, you should instantly go, oh, there's a Sigma shifting in my face. I just instantly rock it. That should sort of be autopilot for you. That should be something that, you know, shift means rock when Sigma does that. You'll eventually get to a point where you'll go, no, hey, maybe in some situations I need to hold my rock for better things. But for now, let's get you into a shift means rock situation. Because if you rock them before Sigma's, finished with the shift and transforms that absorbed damage into health, they don't get the health. Plus, they were expecting protection from their shift, and now they don't have it, and they're probably in a position where your team gets to punish them. Yeah, so I really wanted you to make sure that there's more eyeballs on you when you press this shift. So yeah, this guy's kind of in a dangerous spot with his shift. Like, you can see him, your Ana can see him, your soldier can see him, your Moira can see him, your Hanzo can see him, and your hog can almost see him. Like, your hog could quickly open this angle to see him. So this Sigma is in a dangerous spot when the shift comes out. There's lots of eyeballs on him. This is a place that you guys have been poking. You've been trying to break him here, etc. So he's likely to get a decent amount off of this. Now, he might not. Let's take a look. Maybe he doesn't get very much off of it. He got some. He got some health off of that. Whereas when we then pivot over and look at your shift, you can't absorb Zarya's beam, so that doesn't work. You can absorb right clicks, but you can't absorb Zarya's beam. Sigma isn't looking at you. Sigma's actually looking at your backline, so this shift isn't really helping. Like, A, they're trying to shoot at people that aren't you. Your Zarya wants the soldier, but again, you can't absorb the beam with shift. Your Sigma isn't really, or their Sigma isn't really looking at you, and their backline hasn't rounded the corner yet. So the shift really can't get value. I want you to make sure people that can do damage to you, that is shiftable are actually either looking at you or doing damage to you when you press the shift button. I really want us to get a little better at these. I hear you. I mean, it can be a little tough, like when people are under pressure, like when people shift the Reinhardt because they're down to 100 health and they're just like, press my cooldown. I get it. We break these habits one step at a time. Close the angle. No. We don't want to back up here. We want to go left here. This actually has piercing. It shoots through people, through other people to hit people behind them, etc. It would shoot through your barrier, etc. And your shift can't absorb it. You didn't want to back up here because backing up doesn't do any good. She also has a movement speed increase when she's doing this, so she moves much faster and can try to keep up with you if you just go back. You need to break the angle so that she has to swing in hard. It's fortunate that you guys did hit the nade on her, so she's, very eliminatable here, but you want to immediately react not by going backwards, but by going to the side. And again, not by pressing shift. This isn't absorbable, unfortunately. Good idea on the rock. You needed to throw, well, I'll live. I'd have liked a barrier to the left here, but I'll live. Kind of peeked back into danger a little early here, and you're low enough on health that this would be worth deploying your barrier for. Yeah. So we're about to go down with a full HP barrier, and that's a little unfortunate. We want to balance between our resources a bit better than we did here. So if we sort of play this back, happening, we tried for the rock, we missed, I don't mind. I can live with this, but I know that there's stuff to the left here. Like, I know that there's enemies to the left. I know that they're likely to come through. It can be okay to go, hey, let me deploy my barrier in this direction for just a moment while I try to finish dealing with this, and then I'll rotate to cover and recall my barrier. Like, you don't generally want to just be like, my barrier is going to block generic damage and lots of it, etc. But sometimes when you're in a position that you have to deal with threats from two angles at once, the right answer is to go, hey, let me throw my barrier in this direction. It also would have helped your hog get out. Like, that could have been pretty nice. You're kind of floating and continuing to float in the open here. I'd like you to get to, hey, you know that there's threats that can come from this direction. Maybe you get behind this planter. Maybe you'd rotate it up here instead. I don't love that you are leaving yourself open to what is another threat direction. Okay, you've got your cover. See, so you don't tuck far enough behind your cover during your reload here. And then you go for this, and again, you still got your full barrier, so like this should have been I push out my barrier, it absorbs some damage, it at least blocks the Hanzo even if the Zarya walks through it. Like, that's what we need. And if you deployed that barrier, that might have been enough for you to at least take down this Zarya. And if you take down the Zarya, you're kind of back in the races, right? Because if you take down the Zarya and you have a barrier between you and the Hanzo, you can close it. Your shield health can start to regain. Your soldiers in this. Maybe you can sneak out here and get the Mega, circle back up through here, and now what do you know? You're an off-angling Sigma doing exactly what you're supposed to while your soldier's also in the fight. Hog isn't on high ground. Yeah, but it looked for a moment like he was going to go there. Yes. Toby, or Gamebuster is in the game as Toby here. Oh yeah, no, it took people forever to even remember that this map had high ground. Like, it was amazing how long it took for people to figure out that this was the hold spot on Rialto, this was the hold spot on Rialto, rather than just like, we brute force this, etc. It was amazing to me how long it took the player base to figure that out. This isn't a good place to be. So they've got the checkpoint. It's over. We're not pushing back up to take this, so we very much don't want to be here. Like, this is a big open space. Our cover's all the way back here. Like, we just don't want to be here. We, speaking of high ground, would like to reset and get ourselves up here. Get ourselves up here. Get ourselves up here. But for starters, we can get ourselves right here and do work from here. We don't want to just be, there's no cover, there's nothing available. Like, this is a painful thing for them to push through on the map, but this is also a painful place for you guys to operate. Like, this right here is a really hard place to push through because there's so much open, so much hay, blah, blah, blah. The only way to take the high ground is this. So, like, if you guys occupy this high ground, this is brutal. But if you guys are here, you suffer sort of the same fate as them where you've got no cover, no anything. So please go take it. Leave. Leave. Don't push them. Leave. Don't do it. Don't do it. I don't love it, but is your team committed? No, your team is not committed because your team doesn't want to be here either. I mean, they're in it, but okay. Almost. So if we go into your ult here. Oh. Personally, I don't love the using of the ult. I really don't. I would probably have said, hey, this is okay. You're trying to get 3 people. None of these are great targets. The Moira was always going to fade out of it. The tanks take a little bit more to chip down, etc. But your DPS can probably be expected to take down one of the tanks as long as you're helping, etc. You could have also considered over, here on the Yenna. The Yenna's not going to be able to get out, but then you've got the sleep dart issues. I can live with it. We're generally looking for, squishier heroes if we can that don't have outs like the Moira does. Again, this shift, if you look at what's going on here, that Zarya's not looking at you. The Moira's super far away. You're shifting for Zarya, it looks like, but the Zarya's not even looking at you. Maybe your thought is, hey, I'm shifting for these guys, but you're not holding it in the direction for that to be the case. And, it doesn't really look like they're working on you either. So you want to be under some pressure. You want eyeballs on you. And specifically remember, you can't shift Zarya's left click. So generally, Zarya's not a great shift target unless you're trying to eat grabs, etc. Okay. Were you trying to eat the grab? Is that what was going on here? No, that grab's already long out. Okay. I mean, it doesn't 100% have a direction. It's a little bit conal, etc. But yes, it has a bit of a direction. Like, people can, get you in the back, etc. So you do sort of want to angle it a little bit.
An unexpected but not unwelcome development. Assemble at this location.
Are we going to go battle that Hanzo for high ground? That would be great. I would love it if we battled that Hanzo for high ground. Pressure out the Zarya, and then push up to high ground. Right, this could be the right type of moment for shift. There's a few more eyeballs looking at you. That you expect spam to be coming in this direction. It's not a perfect shift, but it's a little better than what we've been seeing. And you used it to rotate to where you wanted to. Good. So even if you didn't absorb much, at least you used it. It got some value of getting you to where you wanted to go. We don't really want to keep pushing this, though. Like, we would like to fight these guys. We'd like to shoot these guys from above, make them distracted, etc. But sort of to enable us to do that, we need to remove this Hanzo a little bit. And we're not actually going to be able to do that because he has a soldier friend. but we should be trying because we don't know that. Interesting. Good. Take out the Hanzo.
Give me a moment
No
to
one's
think.
looking at you. No one's looking at you. It hurts. Okay, we got a little bit from the Sigma.
No, that wasn't right at all.
I'm under attack.
Enemy contact. Everyone heal up. Observe the barrier.
We gonna put a no? Okay.
Barrier won't hold together.
Yeah. So we're looking at this, and where did we even put our barrier? Okay. Oh, we left our barrier there. So if we're leaving our barrier there, like if we're putting our barrier out, we have to remember it's out. We have to be using it. This barrier is just getting chunked down for no real reason. And now we won't be able to deploy it if we want to protect ourselves again.
Barrier won't hold together.
Yeah, like you'd kind of like to be able to redeploy your barrier right now, we can both tell. But instead of having a 700 health barrier, which you'd have if you'd pulled it back when you stopped using it, you now have a 169 health barrier that you can't deploy for 2.5 seconds. Yeah, but that doesn't mean I'd stay out that long. Like, we can look here.
Everyone heal up. Observe the barrier.
I mean, A, we wouldn't deploy the barrier this far. We'd deploy it just barely, if that's what we wanted to do. B, I'm really not worried about the Sleeping Hog. I understand why, like, hey, they're asleep, they're in danger, etc. But really, it's a, it's a 600 HP hero that's actually in relatively safe space. Like, they're probably not going to get insta-gibbed from here. They might take some damage, so we don't need this barrier. Which, I get it. I get the desire to protect them, so I don't hate it. If we were going to deploy this barrier, it would be more shallow to, like, here. We wouldn't push it out here. Pushing it out here just gives them extra surface area they can attach in this right here, which we don't particularly like. Like, that is doing nothing, but is giving them extra ability to hit it, etc. And then, as we follow here, Hog's awake, definitely don't still need our barrier, and at this point our barrier still has 600 health.
That music, it's playing again.
Good shot. Again, this shift, and I'm just going to point them out because they're not doing you a ton of good. I could understand if you had friends in the grav and you had to, like, get in the grav and shift in this direction to block stuff, etc. But this shift is in the direction of the Zarya, and no one's really looking, to hit it, etc. Like, this isn't doing you a ton of good. But hey, that's okay. So when we shift, we want people looking at us who can do damage to us at the very least, or we want to actively see damage coming at us. And we want it to be, we don't want it to be Moira beams, we don't want it to be Zarya beams, we want it to be, projectiles that can be eaten, like, Diva missiles, Diva damage, Pharah rockets, soldier shots, McCree shots, not the beamy stuff, not the stuff that Defense Matrix doesn't work on. So not the Zarya beam, not the Sim beam, not Rhine swings, and not Winston Tesla stuff, etc. I've probably missed some things, but that's Moira, right clicks, coalescences, that jazz.
What was that equation
And
again?
I think focusing beams from Echo. I think I've covered just about everything. Sim turrets. I think I've covered just about everything with that. Okay, so this isn't great, and the card's moving. So we need to be rethinking this.
The payload is approaching its destination.
Yes.
Огонь по готовности.
So this is fine. This is worse. If we were using this shift, I would have expected it was to sort of take the cart to get to the cart, and I'd have actually wanted to recall the barrier as we did it, so that once we got to the cart, we had the barrier to play around with. I don't like this holding here.
What's that equation?
We can't go here. I like the desire to take a bit of an angle, etc., but we can't actually go here. We need to be taking this angle so that we count for contesting the cart. Because your team is expecting you to do that. You are one of the tanks, and this is end time. Like, I don't want you to just go feed to the cart constantly, but I do want you, especially on checkpoints, to be like, hey, I have to manage the cart. I have to be the one to make sure this doesn't move, because if it moves, the round is over. And you get more into that as we get closer to either checkpoints or round ends. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Activating the barrier.
We need to be on the cart, not our Moira. Good. Finish the Moira. That's actually not your target anymore, so we want to turn and fight the Zarya, not just because it's purple, but because it's accessible. We can keep the cart between us and the Nano Sigma, and remember, the Nano Sigma takes less damage right now, so it probably doesn't want to be our focus target, and we want to just go, oh, keep the cart between me and the Sigma while I take out the Zarya. Which happens to be purple, which makes it even more impressive. No, 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 no! Why would we send this so far? Remember, when we're pushing our barrier, we can't be sending out left click. So, like, it's more time spent if we're pushing the barrier. We needed our barrier to go maybe a tiny touch further than normal to protect our Moira from this if we wanted, but we don't want to throw it this far. It also means they can walk through it faster. Oh, well. Zarya was definitely the person to be on. Glad we've got that now, but you're gone. And if no one touches... Did we touch? Barely.
Tactical visor activated. Stardust to stardust. I'm on fire.
Okay, so you guys communicated that someone else was anchoring cart. If it's communicated that someone else is anchoring cart, that's fine. You don't want everyone anchoring cart, because anchoring cart means you're all bunched together, you don't have aggressive angles, no one is doing offensive work, etc. But usually the assumption would be that, you know, someone a little more bulky, like a Sigma, is going to be anchoring the cart, not your supports. You, for example, don't want your Ana near the cart, because you want your Ana, we talked about this in the last VOD, able to go, hey, I can heal my team from here, I can apply pressure from here, etc., and I am one of the people that the enemy team would most like to remove. You know, it's the, you know, I'd usually be one of the easiest things to remove. So if they come on me, they're not also pushing the cart. They make them pick one, etc. If your Ana's on the cart, they can do both. Applies a little less to your Moira because she operates a little more to closer range and she has fade, etc. But in principle, you still don't want her anchoring. You'll frequently see that happen when pushing cart, but pushing cart is in a non-confrontational situation. Like, pushing cart is different than delaying cart. When you're delaying cart and the fight is happening on the cart, that's different than when you're trying to make the fight happen ahead of the cart and you go, hey, it's okay if our Ana is contributing from the cart because she's pushing her presence forward and the fight is happening quite a bit in front of the cart. Those are different scenarios. Again, that shift. No one looking at you. And honestly, Doomfist isn't a very good hero to shift because it only works on his little fist pump, you know, shotgun shots. It doesn't work on any of his abilities, and much of the danger comes from his abilities.
I require assistance. Allow me to repair the damage.
Conceptually, I like holding this angle. It's just not a great matchup. Good. I don't necessarily like that you slid over here. You had a pillar to your left. You knew the enemies were likely to be coming here. I'd have actually preferred you'd angled to keep the pillar here because you were in trouble after finishing that Doomfist. Okay. You don't have shift. Can we put a barrier out at least? Barrier, barrier, barrier. Good. You didn't need to immediately recall that. You actually needed to soak a little more on that barrier because you're down below half health. Yeah. You see, you basically went down with a, near full health barrier there.
По готовности.
The equations were correct. There is no obligation.
Okay. So
To make sense to you.
I really do want us focusing on our shift usage. I want us not using that on, Zarya damage. I want us going, hey, that's something that we use when people are shooting at us, when people are likely to be shooting at us, when eyeballs are on us. There's a couple other things we can, of course, go to. We could talk about your ult usage. We could talk about, hey, you have to anchor the cart. We could talk a bit more about, hey, you are going down a couple times when you have basically full barriers there. And even though I want you to use your barrier for specific things, it's still a, hey, I shouldn't be going down with the barrier. Like, specific things can be, I'm blocking, I'm intentionally blocking a couple Junkrat nades, etc. I want you to be intentional about what you're using it for. That doesn't necessarily mean that, it should only ever block low damage things like sleep darts, like nades, etc.
Escort the payload.
You make noise to improve and has fun.
Barrier in place.
Okay. Pull back your barrier. Pull it back. Pull it back.
Barrier no longer exists.
Now you don't have the option of redeploying it. I don't really like this. Though I suppose you sort of don't have the option of redeploying it now anyways because they've made the 2.5 second thing so long. Good. Let's play this angle. Please don't drift left. No, no, no. We actually wanted to keep you here. It's more threatening when you threaten at a different angle from your Reinhardt. So if you keep peeking this while your Reinhardt is here, that's better. Because your Reinhardt could throw a fire strike. Your Reinhardt is a threat that they'd like to be shooting at. He's here. They'd like to sort of keep their eyes on him, keep trying to damaging him, being worried about the Hanzo behind him. And then you create this off angle where it's like, well, am I looking at the Hanzo and the Rein, or am I looking at the Sigma? Am I looking at the Hanzo or the Rein, or am I looking at the Sigma? And that's sort of good because it also creates some of those situations where it's like, oh, I'll deploy my barrier to block the Hanzo. Oh, whoops, I'm taking damage from this direction. You want to be doing these things. Make them think about the angle. It's fine. Please don't be here. Please don't be here. Again, right over here is fine. And you can just deepen the angle a little bit to go after the Zarya. Okay. Good. Look up a little at least for this. Yeah.
Don't worry, my friend. I am your sheep.
I would like you to go take high ground while your team's pushing. Like, you sort of have some empty time right now because you're not likely to be the one to eliminate the Pharaoh. So I'd like you to go, hey, there aren't really stagger kills that I can contribute to picking up because you're not going to go for the Pharaoh. You're not going to be able to push up here to deal with the soldier. So I'd be pretty happy with you going around the stairs and taking this position, etc. It's not great, but it's something. Alternatively, you could go, hey, team's pushing this way. Let me push out here. Or if your team gets to here before people show up, you could consider going this way. But I would like you to use this time a little more effectively than this. Angle left. Angle left. Do pay some attention to the Pharaoh. Like, you don't have to, you're not going to be the one to eliminate her, but don't just, never look at her. Is it worth taking the stairs? These stairs, it would absolutely be worth taking. These stairs would be lovely. These stairs, at this point, we were a little late to get value out of, but these stairs absolutely would have been value. It's not worth necessarily rotating. No, Sigma takes too long to rotate, so rotating during the fight, like as the fight was really brawling out, etc., it wasn't worth necessarily going here. But as Ryan was just sort of, doing, hey, we're playing footsie, etc., yeah, that could have been a moment to go up here and just wrench this fight open. Because up here you do wrench this fight open by having this high ground control, being able to threaten this high ground control, etc. So yes, the answer in the first fight is depending on the timing. Yes, it's worth taking the stairs. Once your Ryan's getting chunked a little, once you've really started trading health, it's too late, and you're just going to use this off angle. But if your guys were sort of just playing footsie and it was pretty non-committal, yes, take time and take the stairs. It's fine. Push it. Yeah.
Stardust.
Group up here.
Why are we stopped? Get the lead out and move this payload.
I was saying push in because your Reinhardt was behind the opponents, and our Sigma was in front of the opponents, and I wanted us to continue to push this while they were sort of on the run, etc. I didn't want us playing it passive, etc. I wanted us to go, no, we are going aggression, we are going brawl, even though we're Sigma. The fight was pretty lost, honestly, because the soldier had taken high ground, circled behind us, etc. But that was our moment to try to go, okay, let's try to get value out of this. Let's try to get an elimination. Let's try to force this hard, and we either get it or we lose hard, and that's just a faster reset.
Activating the barrier.
Please don't take the same angle as your Ryan. So if your Ryan is pushing here, you're wanting to go, hey, I'll threaten from over here. That's what you're wanting to do. We don't want to be on the same angle as our Ryan.
Barrier's about to put my barrier.
Still can't absorb that Zarya. This is done. Like, we lost 3 people. We can go jump off the edge. This doesn't even matter. We're just staggering ourselves because we're never going to get out. Okay.
That music. It's playing again.
Get here. Allow me to repair the
Give me
damage.
real speed game. We're a little early. Okay. Work your way left. Good. Your Ryan's gonna go right, so you're gonna play from left. Nice! Take out the Mercy. Keep yourself to the left. Keep yourself on an angle. No, don't go here. You want to keep angling out here and maybe eventually work your way to here to do work.
Observe the barrier.
Works on the attack visor, doesn't work on the coalescence. But the problem is, your Ryan was between you and the attack visor, so okay. Okay, so what just hit you? Are you aware? Because we have to be able to adjust to what's hitting us. Yeah, it's that. Barrier, good. Okay, health pack right here. So we're going to shift to look up to try to block out the Pharaoh while we go for this health pack.
Barrier. Fracturing.
We don't need to push out here. We were actually fine back here. We still had a target that we could have been shooting, etc. Without exposing ourselves to now more targets can hit us, like this Moira, the Sigma. But hey, I mean, the Sigma could always bounce shots in here, but concepts. Okay, we're going to push back. We're going to hit a nice flux. It's going to be great.
That music. It's playing
Огонь
again.
по готовности.
Barrier in place.
Okay. Keep angling left. Good. Turn it.
Pattern.
So the soldier's shooting you from here. I hope you saw that from the hit markers in the sound. And your Rhine's already shielding in this direction, and you can't absorb Coalescent. So let's hard turn. Excuse me. You can't absorb Moira's right click either. You can't absorb her ult or her right click. The only thing I think you could absorb from her would be her orb. She's generally not someone you're going to spend shift on.
10 seconds.
Far forward because it gave the soldier the option to just step through it. You didn't want to send it that far. Recall it. Good. You need to... Okay, this is going to be rough. Good. You got the heal.
Leaving the barrier.
Still can't absorb the Zarya shots. Can't absorb the Pharah shots. Where did our Pharah go? Oh, the Pharah went down. Okay, there we go.
Bad guy.
Nice. Mm-hmm. You gonna put your barrier out there to enable your McCree? You've got a full barrier. Let's spend a little of it. Spend a little bit. Good.
Payload in motion stays in motion.
Okay, recall it.
Accepting a number of
Double
circumstances. of
You
course.
soaked half your barrier. We want to go ahead and recall it now, so that we
Barrier's
have it
about
to
to
block
break.
something important.
Payload has
Good.
reached the checkpoint.
Your Rhine's in front of you. You don't need this barrier. You have full health. Please recall it. Remember, as soon as it's not doing any good for you, you want to recall it because it goes on a 2.5 second cooldown. So you need to recall it. So you need to... It's like when divas cancel their shift early intentionally because they want their next shift sooner, etc. You have to go, hey, this isn't getting me very good value anymore. I want to cancel it so that if I need it, I can have my next barrier sooner.
Lucio coming at you.
You can do plenty against Azaria or Moira. Like, you can stun Azaria after their personal bubble is out. You can eat Azaria's grab, which is really punishing with your shift if you get it before it, while it's still an orb, before it turns into the grab itself, etc. You can absorb Azaria's right clicks, but, if you shift, they're just going to switch to left clicks. And you can't do much against a Moira with your shift. Your shift is mostly for Zarya matchup against their grab, but that doesn't mean you as a hero can't challenge them. It just means your shift isn't a tool to use against them. And that's fine because it just means, hey, there's less people I have to, my shift is on a cooldown. So since my shift is on a cooldown, it's great that I know I want it for the matchup with the McCree, the Soldier, the Pharah, etc. Yeah.
Barrier in place.
Yeah? What's your point? Diva's Shift is flying, and you can definitely cancel Diva's Shift. And people do because your cooldown doesn't start until your flying ends. So people will cancel fly. Like, if people go, hey, I'm using my shift because I want to take high ground on Diva, and they've accomplished what they wanted to, they can cancel their shift. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. They can cancel their shift as soon as they've taken the high ground, so that if the enemies show up, they have it back sooner. Yeah, that's a thing that people do. Definitely. Ooh, no. Did I just change my sensitivity? Okay, I guess that's fine.
Surrender to my will.
So what you're actually looking to do when you push through here, always, is to go, hey, we pushed the card across, now we're going to push up here and take this high ground, and now we're going to play from here. It is really, really powerful. Like, this point, this is very strong high ground. It's not Gibraltar Blue Box strong, but it's close. It's Blizzard World second tier powerful high ground. It might even be a little bit better. Yeah, probably a little bit better. And even if no one else on your team goes there, you want to go there. And in this case, your soldier went there, or their soldier went there. No, your soldier went there, so you could be No, it is their soldier went there, so you would be denying him, fighting him forward, etc., keeping him from being able to drop behind your team and tack visor and wipe you all out. Shift, shift, or not.
Get into position.
So again, because we're talking shift so much today, if you decide to shift here, you don't necessarily want to be backing up. You actually want to push forward in front of your Ryan, so you're absorbing damage for Ryan instead of Ryan's shield, etc. Because you still have 400 health. You're not in any danger. You can afford to push forward here instead of back off. That's not good of your soldier, but we could say, hey, our Sigma isn't using much high ground either, so, you know, maybe we don't want to cast stones too hard. Can't absorb this. Oh, they almost sent us up to high ground. That would have been nice.
Step right up.
It's an option to use shift to gain health when you're low, absolutely. That's a totally fine option. I was just saying, since our Sigma had 400 health when they were using that shift, I didn't like that they were backing up around the cart with it, as opposed to pushing forward. Like, I was just saying, they're not going to get insta-gibbed once the shift is over, or if the shift gets cancelled by something, they're not going to get insta-gibbed by being a tiny little bit in front of their Reinhardt there. It's going to be very easy for them to back up behind their Reinhardt without getting punished, going down, etc. So, like, if they'd had 100 health when they pressed the shift, I might understand, okay, we're backing up, etc., because the shift was a panic defensive cooldown, etc., and then we're getting out here to make sure we don't go down. But when we have 400 health, we want to protect our Reinhardt's shield and his health with our shift. We want to push our hand through him to protect him with it, etc. Okay, we're in this. We could definitely
Possible. Enemy return.
hit this.
60 seconds.
Bearing it down. Surrender to my will.
Okay, your Ryan pushed in hard, so we're gonna have to follow. They're looking at our Ryan, and they're almost certainly looking at our Ryan. This isn't the time to shift.
Activating the barrier.
This is gonna hurt. Good. That was interesting. I guess we just didn't hit it directly enough to stun. Well, there we go. Got our barrier out. Good. Little slow on that when we're balancing between our health. The coalescence is gonna get us. Oh, yikes. Okay, pull back your barrier. Pull back your barrier. Yep. No. We didn't want to go this way. We wanted to take the easy elimination on the thing in our backline rather than pushing into this fight, which is hard. Take the easy elimination on your backline. Let your Ryan handle hail, shield, block them out while we take this easy elimination. Because this is both very dangerous to us and very easy for us to eliminate. So let's do that. Yeah, I know. Some Ryans do that. But you just have to take advantage of what they do. And you take advantage of going, okay, they pushed in a very not respectful of their own life way. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and push when they do that. Like if one person feeds, if one person on your team is feeding, you can very much just go, hey, it's a feed, but at least we can time our aggression around their feed to get some value out of them. If everyone on your team, if multiple people on your team is feeding, it's tough because you have to try to go when, you have to either go when both of them are feeding together, or you have to pick one of them to push while they're feeding, etc., and it becomes a 5-person push instead of a 6. So that's just what you got to do. If your Reinhardt is doing bad charges, that's life. You have to use the fact that they're going to turn around to attack your Rein who's now in deep, etc. Just like you guys were going to turn around to deal with the Zarya here, they could push hard, etc., during that window and try to get the best value they can out of it. Okay. So the biggest thing I want you to focus on is I want to change the shift usage. I really want the shift usage to come out for heroes that it can absorb damage from. So less so for Zarya, less so for Moira. I want it to be, and I want it to come out when eyeballs are looking at you or you're taking damage. So like, soldiers are looking at you, Junkrats are looking at you, Pharahs are looking at you, Annas are looking at you. Things that you can actually take damage from are actually looking at you is when I want that shift to come out. You're going to get much more consistent value out of it if you're thinking about, hey, I'm either already taking damage and I'm specifically taking damage from heroes that can hurt me through can't hurt me through shift, or I'm doing this when they're looking at me and they're clearly about to start shooting at me, etc. I'm not doing it while they're shooting at someone else on my team who is a bit separated from me, etc. I'm only doing it like that if I'm in front of my team and they'd have to shoot through me to get there, etc. The other thing I'm going to want you to do is we'll call it two things. We'll say, hey, I do want you to be a little more aware of your barrier. I don't mind the hog thing. We only really saw that once. But what I do mind is sometimes it's not coming out before you go down at all. And I want you to be conscious about what you're using your shield for, but you shouldn't be going down with, 600 life left on your shield. That really shouldn't be happening unless it's like a Reinhardt that takes you down or something. So let's make sure that we don't forget that that's there. And then let's also go, hey, we want our off angles. If our team is here, we're pushing through here. This is really, really important for Sigma. You want to be on off angles. If your team is here, you push from here. If your team is here, you'd love to be here. If your team is here, being here can be okay. You really want these off angles when you're working even with a Reinhardt like this. Occasionally you'll push behind your Reinhardt. Like if your Reinhardt is just feed charging in, you can go, okay, I'm pushing straight because my Reinhardt is on the off angle. He's pushing from the back, etc. But that's really what you're looking to do. And I think that's mostly going to do it for helping you out here. Do I have any questions? So the best is to play around feeders, but what is I am DPS and my tanks are not doing that? How do I play around their feet if my tanks stay behind? Well, you ask them to push on comp. So if people are pushing that aren't your tanks, ultimately your best bet is to coordinate around your tanks. If a DPS is feeding and your tanks aren't pushing, that's annoying. If your tanks are pushing at other times, though, when your tanks are pushing is the best time. They can be the best distraction for the longest period of time. So that's sort of what you've got to do. The situation just kind of sucks. Sun custom, forget it. Yeah, me too. Okay. I think that covers it. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that really does help me out. Or if you are looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, all sorts of good stuff like that. Do I see anything else here? Question-wise, I don't think I do. So again, in review, let's really make sure to clean up that shift usage. That's going to preserve your life a lot better. Let's make sure we're looking for those angles, especially those high ground angles. Please use your barrier when you're in trouble. And again, when it comes to people that are feeding, etc., you just push in with them as best you can. Okay. Cool. Thanks, guys. Temporal out.